Abdullah Olajuwon, the son of NBA legend Hakeem Olajuwon. We all know about who Hakeem was, one of the greatest centers of all time, who had arguably the greatest season we've ever seen in 1994. This was a man who revolutionized the center position and played in a way that we've never seen before. And to this day, nobody has been able to replicate his offensive repertoire and his defensive excellence. But today, we're gonna talk about his oldest son, Abdul. While most children of past NBA superstars accumulate a lot of notoriety and fame early on in their lives, that hasn't been the case with Abdul. His story and journey of climbing up the basketball ranks has not been easy, and I'm sure most people didn't even know Hakeem had a son. Even though he's not on anyone's radar right now, from his high school highlights in the United Kingdom and then transferring to Houston, Texas, looking at his overall game, he has some great potential. Especially considering his dad has always encouraged him and helped him get into basketball, working together with him to achieve his dream. If you want to follow him on Instagram, his handle is abdul.xi. Anyway, how's it going, folks? My name's Andy, and this is the beginning of Abdullah Olajuwon's story. Born in 2004 in Jordan, a small country in the Middle East, Abdul lived there for the first 10 years of his life. Initially, he wasn't interested in basketball. Growing up, Abdul preferred to play soccer. It was by far the most popular sport in Jordan and the rest of the Middle East. Despite Hakeem's efforts to persuade him to play basketball, it wasn't working out well in the beginning. In an interview with Vibe, Hakeem talked about his two sons and stated, "Every time I'd leave them with a basketball, I'd come back and it would turn into a soccer ball." But eventually, after some further encouragement, Abdul would slowly forget about soccer and focus 100% of his efforts on basketball. When describing this transition, this is what Abdul said. Quote, "When we used to play soccer, I was more passionate than everybody. But when my dad told me to forget about soccer, I really didn't believe it. But after I tasted playing basketball, I didn't want to play anything else. I knew that was my passion." By the age of 11, Abdul would be sent to the United Kingdom to attend school in the West Midlands region. It was there where his basketball career kick-started. Between the ages of 11 and 15, Abdul would stay in the UK and slowly made a name for himself in his local community in Birmingham. At this point, he was still unknown on the national stage, but his game ramped up drastically. As a 6'4" shooting guard, he displayed a wide array of skills. A great dribble pull-up game, some good handles and finishing ability, along with a decent shooting stroke. He's equipped with a diverse scoring arsenal that's rarely seen for players of his age. His footwork was much better than the average player, partly because he got that from playing soccer growing up. In his final season playing at Birmingham, he put up some ridiculous numbers, with averages of over 33 points, 6 assists, 7 rebounds, and 2 blocks per game. He even had a 40-point explosion against the #1 seeded team, Manchester. As a 15-year-old, he participated in the UK Under-16 playoffs, where he led the city of Birmingham to a 70-68 victory. In that game, he even hit a game-winning shot, and the crowd went wild. You could see it in this clip here. However, the main question surrounding Abdul was his competition, or lack thereof. The British leagues aren't exactly known to produce NBA players. Luol Deng was probably the best player who developed his basketball skills in the UK, and eventually became an NBA All-Star. Some other players were born in the UK, but they didn't exactly grow up playing there. Basically, while putting up those ridiculous numbers, Abdul's competition was dubious at best. It's hard to evaluate his true potential considering the game is much different compared to, let's say, a top high school in the US. However, he does have the advantage of being raised by an NBA legend who wants to see him succeed. There's a trend in the NBA where players who grew up playing soccer typically translate pretty well to basketball. The footwork, the angles, and the ability to maneuver around defenses are very important skills in the NBA too. Heck, even Hakeem himself grew up playing soccer. And he mentioned that it was the reason his footwork in the NBA was so good. Joel Embiid and Pascal Siakam are recent examples of players who grew up playing soccer and only started playing basketball in their teens, yet they're both fantastic players. So this whole idea of starting late is not really that relevant. Under the mentorship of his father, this should give Abdul an advantage, and he could possibly follow the same path. So anyway, right after this amazing season in Birmingham, Abdul and the rest of his family would move to America. This was in 2019. Hakeem explained this move and why he decided to move him. He said, "Abdullah is 15. If he doesn't come now, he won't really get a chance to catch up. So that's why I moved them back here." For Hakeem, obviously, he spent so many years here. For Abdul, this would be his first time playing basketball in America. In September of 2019, Hakeem enrolled Abdul at the Village School, a private college prep school in Houston, a city that's known to be a hotbed for basketball talent. Coach Andy Johnson of the Village School was impressed by how fast Abdul was improving. He said, "He's made remarkable progress in the month he's been here. Like he talks about step by step, he's been phenomenal. He's been awesome to coach. Just a great kid, down to earth, humble, and works extremely hard." Those comments are definitely a good sign. In his first season at an American high school, Abdul quickly found himself getting a bigger role on the team. It was a stark contrast to his days back in the UK. Abdul was averaging over 10 points and 4 rebounds a game playing against the varsity leagues throughout the Houston area. Unfortunately, towards the end of the season, his time was cut short due to a severe ankle injury. Hopefully, he can recover, but from what we saw, he looked pretty good when he was healthy, considering he's still getting acclimated to this new style of play. So, how good can he actually be, and could he be a serious NBA prospect? What are things that he needs to work on? Well, judging from his highlights and mixtapes, one thing that pops out is his jump shot. His jump shot looks a bit awkward, especially the release point and his lift. It's kinda slow, and him being a guard, that's a hindrance. It looks like he's working on it, but for a guy who's 6'4" and projects to be a shooting guard, he needs to have a good jump shot by the time he graduates high school. Abdul's athleticism is there, his agility and footwork are his strengths, and despite his stature, he's built very well. He weighs roughly 200 pounds at only 16 years old as of this video. With that being said, we've seen a lot of guys, even high-tier prospects in the past, who saw their careers stagnate, simply because they were wing players who could not shoot. Athleticism and effort only gets you so far. As I mentioned previously, it's a huge advantage to have a father who's an all-time NBA great. His family could afford all of the trainers, workout coaches, and professionals to help him succeed. According to his father, he added on that another weakness was Abdul's basketball IQ, since he did start playing the sport later than most of his teammates. However, him and his coaches in Houston were very delighted to witness Abdul's rapid improvement. Hakeem stated, "In 1 month, the improvement is tremendous. His disadvantage is that he started playing late. So he's playing well, but the basketball IQ is coming along. It's things like that. I saw him play on Saturday and I saw his court awareness is much better than he was in the UK. So he's improved a lot in basketball IQ." Abdul also has a little brother, Abdul Rahman, who also trains with him and his father. Maybe at least one of them can carry on Hakeem's legacy. As of now, neither of them are old enough to be serious prospects. Since Abdul's now playing in an area with a lot of scouts, he's going to get noticed if he continues to get better. Perhaps even recruited to a Division I college, depending on how his last 2 years in high school go. I mean, he'll probably be better than MJ's kids, that's for sure. Anyway, that's all folks. That sums up the story of Abdullah Olajuwon. There's also this trend where the sons of NBA legends have had a hard time following in their father's footsteps. I'm looking at you, David Stockton, Patrick Ewing Jr., Gary Payton II, Jordan's kids. Hopefully, Abdul could break that trend. Thank you everyone so much for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Again, if you want to follow his journey, his Instagram handle is abdul.xi. And as always, I'll see you next time. Peace.